Kelly, 5 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you for the important accountability work that you do for Canadians. You mentioned in your opening statements that you have requested sufficient budget resources to be able to continue to do proactive reviews, but you cannot. And that budget request has been refused. So for the record, this means that you do not have the resources to do proactive reviews. You can only investigate complaints.
I would say at this time, so it's not that we don't have resources to do any systemic reviews, but we don't have the resources to do the volume of systemic reviews that we should.
Okay, but the point of systemic review or proactive review is to ensure best practice.
Absolutely.
And so that work cannot, you don't have, your office doesn't have the budget to do that now.
Absolutely. And just, if I may, on your point, so the reason we do knowledge pieces is to create reasonable grounds to actually do these systemic investigations. So if we don't have the resources to launch knowledge pieces, we might not know where problems lie. So we're very reliant on the stakeholders that work with our office to disclose information to let us know where to go.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned that the departments refuse your requests for information. That's troubling. Is that's during a proactive review or a complaint review or either?
So I wouldn't use the terminology that they refuse document production, but they're unable to produce documentation in certain circumstances. And in other circumstances, the documentation that's provided is not fulsome. And
okay, I thought you said that you had to go back and re-ask and re-ask and re-ask.
So there is that, and it stemmed from the question about the establishment of the electronic database. And so the database was not capturing information accurately. So as a result, what was scoped in were not relevant contracts for us to actually review. So we would have to go back to the department and ask them to reproduce relevant documentation. So it's not a refusal to provide the documentation, it's an inability to provide accurate information.
So the third recommendation in your report, you talked about the that DIA needed to update its procedural policies and training to require all evaluators to assess and confirm that they're not in a conflict of interest. I would hope that this really would go without saying. Is your office concerned that conflicts of interest exist with evaluators?
So the issue is that if you're external to government, those evaluators are actively signing new conflict of interest declarations, right? So it's top of mind right before conducting an evaluation. That same process isn't true if you're a member or an employee of the Department of National Defense. And so as a result, we want it to be top of mind for all evaluators so that on those procurements where you're not doing a blind evaluation and you actually know who ultimately the bidders are, you need to be mindful of the fact that conflict is at the top of the priorities in terms of having an effective and fair evaluation process.
Okay. When you have found improper bids have been awarded, who signs off on these bids? Is it D&D, Treasury Board, PSPC, or is the complicated relationship of all three part of the root of how improper bids are awarded?
So for the purposes of our systemic review, all of those contracts would have been awarded by the Department of National Defense. So that's how we scoped it, in that they're both the contracting authority and also the ultimate recipient.
Okay, so that's your earlier comment that is on, it's on D&D when there's an inappropriate bid. Okay.